Interesting, right? Okay. That was 400, 400, the 400 men of Esav. So now people who are just tuned in have no idea what we're talking about. But that was for something else. What are the names we want to mention today? We have, I wrote it down, but then I have to go back on my phone. So you want to give it to me one more time?
Yeah, Jawahar,
Leilun Ishmat Javahar
Bat Arajan.
Bat Arajan, and also Moshe Hayim Bat Arajan,
Yes.
and Ruchama Bat Pinchas Halevi. The Neshamot should have an Aliyah and Shamayim. Your mother-in-law, your mother-in-law. Your consuegra. Consuegra, right? Her consuegra? That's what they call it? No, they don't call it that. We'll use your word. That's okay. Okay, let's jump in here. Rabbi Akiva, there's a midrash that says that Rabbi Akiva was speaking to his students, and his students were dozing off and sleeping during the class. And so he decided to tell them some interesting side, unrelated to the real Gemara, side thing to try to get them more interested. The Gemara always talks about sometimes how the rabbis would open up a discussion with a more light topic, something easy, something fun to talk about before you get into the nitty-gritty of a Gemara. And so he decided, they're falling asleep in my class here. Let me switch the topic for a second and say something interesting to wake these guys up. What did he say? He tells his students, wake up. I have a question for you. Esther Hamalka, Queen Esther, she ruled over 127 provinces. Where did she get the zichut, the merit to rule over 127 provinces? Queen of the world? What did she do? What in the world did she do to deserve this? You know what she did? In the merit of her grandmother Sara, who lived 127 years, she got to rule over 127 provinces. This is what he said. Now everyone's perked up, and he goes back into the class. What in the world? So it's interesting. What's the connection between Sara and what is he trying to? Why did he choose this topic to tell his students to wake them up? And so, a lot of Mifashim talk about this. The Shaarey talks about it, and he says, "Well, if we think about it for a second, Sara, if it's true what he's saying, that 127 of Sara's years corresponds to 127 provinces that Esther ruled over, then that would mean, the math would say, every year of Sara's life corresponds to one country. And so it's a good thing she worked on every year of her life from beginning to end, didn't retire a year before, because then Esther would have only had 126. But hold on a second, says the Shaarey. If every year of her life is a country, then every month of her life is a town. If she took a month off vacation, that would be one less town Esther would end up getting. And if we keep going down the path, he says, every week is a block. Every house is a day. Which means Esther, Sarah, she lived life to the fullest. Vayu chaye Sarah, me'ah shana ve'esrim shana ve'sheva shanim. She lived 127 years, full life. She never stopped. Not when she was young, not when she was old. Vayu, take the word vayu, and they were the days. Vayu we don't usually use this when we say someone's life. Vayu, and they were the days. Vayu goes the same way this way, and you read it the same way backwards and forwards. It's called what's it called? Something with a P, I think. Something with a P. Palladian? Something like that. Palladium? Like race car. Palladium, right? It goes like, Vayu reads both ways. From this way of her life to that way of her life, they were all even. She worked her head off, and she valued every second of her life. And because she did so, what's that? Kulam shavim l'tova, yeah. And because she worked so hard, she got the maximum value out of her life. And Esther, her granddaughter, got the maximum value in her kingdom. Very nice. It teaches us the meaning of time. And that's why he uses this to wake up his sleeping students to say, guys, you're wasting time. Sleeping, you could be building another house right now. You could be building a block. Wake up. His message worked, and he woke up the student. There's a beautiful shot that I read from Rabbi Alan Schwartz in New York. There's a very famous word here when Abraham comes to eulogize his wife who just passed away. Abraham Abraham comes to eulogize for his wife, Sarah, and to cry for her because she passed away. He never got to see her from the Akedah. By the time he came back home, she was dead. The love of his life. They shared everything together. He didn't get to say goodbye to her. He came to cry for her and to eulogize her. And we all know which letter is small in the word V'liv Kota. When it says to cry for her, the kaf of V'liv Kota is written small in the Torah. It's special. It's not the same size as the other letters. To cry for her, the kaf of the word cry is written small. Why is it written small? There are different explanations why it's written small. Tzaddikim, they cry a little bit for someone because they know they're still alive in the next world. There's different reasons. But there's a beautiful reason. There's a midrash, I'm not sure if you know this, there's a midrash that says, what was Abraham Avinu's eulogy? It says, Vayavo Abraham lispod the sara, he came to eulogize Sarah. What did he say? What were the words of his eulogy? Midrash says, Eshet Hayil. Eshet Hayil was composed by Abraham Avinu. Shlomo HaMelech later wrote it down. Eshet Hayil is the last chapter of Mishleh. That's how Mishleh finishes. Eshet Hayil Miyimsah. The Midrash says Eshet Hayil was Abraham's song, his last song for his love of his life, Sarah. If you look at Eshet Hayil, I wish I had a Sidur. Do you have a Sidur? Can we get a Sidur? Let Esther get it. It's okay. You have a if your leg hurts you. If you look at Eshet Hayil Miyimsah, V'rachok mipnei Michla. The woman of valor, where is she found? V'rachok mipnei Michla. Far away like pearls. Batahba lebala. Let's see if I know the whole thing by heart. I better know it by heart. Otherwise, my wife will be in big trouble Friday night. Batahba lebala. The heart of her husband trusts in her. V'shalal lo yaksa. Let's keep going. Gemalatu tov v'lora. Kol yemei hayeha. Only good and no bad all of her days. She uses the palms of her hand. Let's keep going. I'm just going to do this by heart until we show you the pattern. She gets up in the nighttime, and gives food and provisions to her house. Let's keep going. From the fruits of her palms, she plants the vineyard. What's the het? Where am I? I'm on het, right? I'm on het. With her arms. Zira'oteha is her arms. The next one, ta'amaki tov sahra, lo yichbe balayla nira. At night, her flame is never out. The flame, which means she's up. At night, the flame is never out. Next one, yadeha shalaha bekishot. She stretches out her hands. How does that finish? Yadeha shalaha bekishot. V'chapea tamichu falech. V'chapeha again with the palm. How many times did I say the word palm in this Eshet Hayil? You ever notice this? A lot of times you say the word palm. V'chapeha tamichu falech. Lo tira lebeta mishaleg. Which means, we say this every Friday night. Lo tira lebeta mishaleg. Her house is never afraid of snow. Because they're all wearing clothes. What's the pattern in Eshet Hayil? Because I don't need this to do anymore. We did the whole thing most of it by heart. What's the pattern in Eshet Hayil? The kaf. Her palm is stretched out to the poor person. We say it over and over again. We're talking about the palm of her hand. She uses her hands. Which letter was small in the word? Kaf. Kaf means palm. Kaf means palm. We're accentuating and saying, look at the kaf. When he went to cry for her and he went to eulogize her with the Eshet Hayil, he says, the most thing I'm most impressed about is the kaf. Her whole life, she's busy with her palms. The palms is what gives to people. The hands are used to give to others and to nourish others and to provide for others. And Sarah did this physically with food and clothing for her family or anyone who came in. They were the kings of Hakasat Orhim. And she also did this with spirituality. She taught people day and night. He was with the men and she was with the women, day and night. So the hands and the palms is what's used to give to others. And Abraham Avinu, when he came to cry for her, he made sure the Eshet Hayil was filled with her palms, all about the palms. And the Torah uses the word Vilid Kota to cry for her, specifically about what I'm going to cry about the kaf, about her palms. Such a giving person. Never stopped day and night, as we said. Then why should the kaf be small? Shouldn't we make the kaf big? Why should we make the kaf small in the Torah? This is behind the scenes, as we know. Sarai Imenu is behind the scenes. She did everything quietly. She let her husband get all the accolades. But as we know, I want to tell you this, behind every great man is a greater woman. No question about it. Right? And I know, as Mrs. Gabay reminded me before I got married 13 years ago, 13 years ago you told me this, and I never forgot it, right? We're the neck and the head. Yeah, the man thinks the man is the head, but we're the neck, and we move him wherever we want. Amongst other Persian, Iranian sayings that I don't remember, she has a wealth of them. And so therefore, why is the kaf small? Because everything is done quietly. She didn't ask for the credit. But you know what? How does Eshet Hayil finish? What does Abraham Avinu, the last pasuk? Tenula mipiri yadeha. Give her from the fruits of her labors. Yadeha, her hands again. V'halilu b'she'arim ma'aseha. You know who's going to give her praise? Not me, not now. Not in her life. Ma'aseha. Her actions will speak for her. Don't worry. She's going to leave behind a legacy. V'halilu b'she'arim ma'aseha. All the work that she put into this world, that's going to praise her when she's gone. She'll get her credit, don't worry. And so Eshet Hayil is for Sarai Imenu, amongst others. I know we say it's for the Torah, or Shlomo HaMelech's mother. It could be Shlomo HaMelech used this for his mother as well. This is how he finishes Mishleh. However, the Midrash says it's for Sarai Imenu. Sarai Imenu never wasted any time at all. Says the Hatam Sofer, Vatakom Be'od Laila, we say. And she got up in the middle of the night. She gave food to her house. Even the nighttime, she was busy. Now in 2022, we understand this is not a big deal. Before electricity, to get up in the middle of the night and get to work, it is a big deal, right? That's why daylight savings time, that doesn't really do anything for us right now because it doesn't matter. Our day is a 24-hour day. It doesn't matter what time it is or if the sun's out or the moon. But daylight savings time for back then for the farmers was a big deal. Because when the sun goes down, goodbye. Work's done. There's no work after the sun goes down. But Sarai Aminu never stops. But Takum Be'od Laila, she even went at night. It's not normal for people to work hard during the nighttime as they should do during the daytime. There's a Gemara in Shabbat. Gemara Shabbat says, and this, if you don't know this one, you'll find it interesting, because we know that from the three fathers that we've had, Abraham corresponds to Hesed, kindness. Yitzhak responds to Gevurah and Din, which is judgment, which is strict rules. Yes is yes and no is no. No playing around, Yitzhak. And Yaakov is the blend, which is Tiferet, a blend of Rahamim, of mercy, a blend of kindness with rules, which is a great way to live. Be nice with rules. Gemara Shabbat says, before Mashiach comes, Hashem is going to come to Abraham Avinu and say, Abraham, your children are veering off the path. They're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're not serving me properly. And what does Abraham say? Remember the class about Abraham Avinu 2 weeks ago? Abraham cared about one thing, Kiddush Hashem. All he cared about. Abraham says, what? They're making Hilul Hashem? Wipe him out. Even the man of Chesed, Abraham will say, wipe him out. I'm not here to defend them. And then he's going to go and skip Yitzhak, Gemara says, and go to Yaakov, because Yaakov is Tiferet. Why should I go to the judgment guy? And Hashem's going to go to Tiferet, and Yaakov is going to say, they're not listening to you. They're not following the Torah. Get rid of them. And then says the Gemara, Hashem's going to go to Yitzhak. Last chance. Let's see what Yitzhak can do. Yitzhak is the rule guy. They're not following the rules. Yitzhak. Your children are not doing the right thing. What does the Gemara say? Yitzhak says to Hashem, Banecha, my children are not doing the right thing. What, they're my kids? They're not your kids? They're only my kids and not yours? Hashem, this is what the Gemara says. How many years do you give them on this world? It's pasuk in Tehillim. If you live 70 years, that's considered a life. Inshallah, we live 120. We want more than 70, but 70 is considered a life. You give them 70 years, Hashem. That's Yitzhak, Hashem. Let's take out the calculator. You see, Yitzhak is Givurah. Let's take out the calculator. 70 years, half of it is day and half of it is night. What do you expect them to do in the nighttime, these guys? You can't expect them to do something in the nighttime. So let's cancel out half the days. What do you have left? 35 years. You gave them 35 years. Half of the daytime, they're either eating or in the bathroom. This is what the Gemara says. And so 35 years now becomes 17 and a half years. Bottom line, Hashem, you gave someone in this world 17 and a half years to do stuff. They messed up. Half on me, half on you. Palga alai or palga alecha. This is what Yitzhak says to Hashem. You can't absorb 8.5 years. What is it? 8.5 years? Is that what it is? Or it's a little bit more. 8.5, 17. 8.75? You can't absorb 8.75 years of bad behavior. So Yitzhak says to Hashem, only 8.75 years of bad behavior. You want to wipe me out for that? Come on. I put myself on the Akedah. I put myself on the bound to be slaughtered. That's got to be worth 8.75 years. Hashem says, I love you, Yitzhak. You're right. I'm going to bring Mashiach. This is the conversation that's going to happen before Mashiach. This is the Gemara Shabbat says, and I believe it's page 89. If it's not 89, Akiva, it's in the 80s for sure. It's in the 80s for sure. Did I write it down where it is? It is in, not 84. It's in the 80s. Yitzhak Avinu, interesting. The man of Gevurah, the man of rules, is the one that's going to bring us the saved salvation in the end. Yitzhak shows us you can't expect someone to keep the nights and the days at the same time. We're only human. However, Sara imenu, fatakom be'od laila, even in the nighttime she was busy. That's called living the life to the fullest. Who else did this? Look at the Haftarah from yesterday. V'hamelech David zaken ba bayamim. King David was old, coming in the days. How old was King David when he died? 70. That's old. 70 is old. We use the same words for Abraham Avinu. The Abraham Avinu, the Abraham zaken ba bayamim. How old was he? He was 137. How could you use the same words for Abraham as David at 70 years old? Where did David HaMelech get his 70 years from? He was supposed to be an infant that was... Okay. So far, so good. That's the part you know. Well, worth respect. You probably know the other part too, but not everybody. David HaMelech was supposed to be a miscarriage. Adam HaRishon saw that, no way, this can't be a miscarriage. I'm giving him 70 years of my life. Here's the part that you may not know. Says the Zohar, Adam HaRishon regretted what he said. And when it came time for him to die, he said, whoa, where am I going? I want to live 1,000 years. He said, no, you gave 70 away. Because when you give your money away, when you have a lot of it, it's easy. But when you start running out, what did I do? And so Hashem goes and he says, where else am I going to take some years from? I need years for David HaMelech. Where does he get them from? Abraham lived to 175. He was supposed to live to 180. His son Yitzhak lived to 180. So Abraham Avinu was shorted 5 years. Yaakov lived to 147. He should have lived to 175 at least, like his father, like his grandfather Abraham. And so he was shorted. Come on, do the math. On my first cup of coffee. What's the math? 175, 147. How many years? 28? 28 years shorted. 28 plus 5, 28 from Yaakov. And 5 plus Abraham from Abraham is 33. Yosef HaSadiq, says the Zohar, lived to 110. And his father Yaakov, we just said, was 147. Every person should live to the age of their parents, which is why the Gemara says that if someone's within 5 years before or after the death of their parents, they should be a little bit worried, God forbid. Because within a 5-year buffer, a person should ideally live the length of their parents. Inshallah, we can pass our parents. You can pass your parents. But if you're within 5 years of the parent, you should just start thinking a little bit. Okay? I'm not trying to freak anyone out. Yosef lived to 110. His father, Yaakov, 137. How many years? 147. So how many years did he short? 37. 37 from Yosef plus the 33 we just had, 70 years. That's the 70 years for David HaMelech. That's what the Zohar says. Now, hold on a second. Adam HaRishon, he got his 70 years back? No. See, David HaMelech got paid twice. He got 70 from Adam, and he got 70 from Abraham, Yaakov, and Yosef. That's 140 years. Why did he die at 70? And the answer is, David HaMelech, it says very famously, he had the harp, or it's really a lyre, I think. Lyre is the instrument. We'll call it a harp. He had the harp above his bed that woke him up. He didn't sleep. He didn't. The Gemara says David HaMelech never took a sleep as long as a horse's nap, which is 60 breaths, 60 inhales. Right? He didn't sleep. He didn't, very, very, very little. He trained himself. And so, Laila akum lehodot lecha, it says in Tehillim, at night I get up to sing to you, Hashem. And so Hashem says, David HaMelech, he's not sleeping. That's a double life. 70 from Adam for the daytime. We need another 70 for the nighttime. Both of them contribute. All 4 of them contributed to make David HaMelech what he was. The HaMelech David Zaken, why was he old? He's 140 years old. The guy went night and day. He's not 70. He lived a full life, David HaMelech. Just like Sarah. Okay. And so we see the value of the great people we had in maximizing every second of their day as much as possible. The Lubavitcher Rebbe says, if you look at the words, the Abraham ba bayamim, he was coming in the days, and it uses the same words last week's parasha for Sarah also. The Abraham v'Sarah zekrim ba'in bayamim, they were coming in the days, and he uses the same word for David in the Haftarah. What is this coming in the days? What a weird way to say. And so the Rebbe explains, and he says, sometimes, usually, if you look at the world out there, as a person ages, they get slower, right? Physically, but not only physically, mentally, they just chill out and they get lax. What used to get them excited doesn't get you so excited anymore. I've seen it all. Nothing surprises me. What's the big deal? I've been down this road 50,000 times before. It's okay. Don't worry. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And so David HaMelech and Avraham Avinu and Sarah, they were ba bayamim. They were coming in their days. Their days were never past them. They were in the days always, living in the moment, as we say in English. And so every single day until their very last breath, they said, what is my job to do today? Which means not, oh, I did it. I did my job. I've heard some people say that I raised my kids. They all got married. I have my grandkids. I did my job. I did my job in life, which is great. You did a great job. I'm in the middle of this right now, my stage of life with the kids and the diapers in the school and the homework. And it's not easy. And I respect anyone who's gone through what I'm going through and finished that job with the school and the tuition. I give you props. I can't wait to get there myself. Is that Hashem? But you didn't finish your job. Because if you're still alive on this world, there's something that you need to do. If your job was finished, you'd be gone. And so Abraham Avinu says, and Sarah, I'm ba bayamim. I'm inside my days. Hashem gave me another day. What's it for? There's something I need to do today. Not in the past. Today. This can help us explain and answer a really strange question. This question, Rabbi Adaro asked it Friday night if you were here in Shul, and it's a great question. The question is, it's kind of weird. We know in the Pirashah at the end it says, Vayosef Avraham, Avraham added and married a woman, and her name was Keturah. How old was he already? 140 years old. And he married Keturah. He gets married to another lady, and he has a whole bunch of kids with her. I mean, Abraham Avinu is going strong. He flipped the script on his life. Not one kid till 100, and now he's popping them out, right, as he gets older. And then the Midrash says, that she says what? Keturah zu Hagar. Keturah is Hagar. Hold on a second. Hold on. So we have the Midrash. It's very nice. But hold on a second. Why don't we just think of this like a normal, rational person in a normal, rational relationship? The love of your life, the person you just wrote Eshet Hayil for, that we all say Friday night, she specifically instructed you to throw this lady to the curb. Get her out of here. And Hashem appears to you and says, listen to every word she said. The second she kicks the bucket, you're bringing the lady back? What kind of chutzpah is this? That's men? Oh, I can't wait to tell your husband tomorrow when I see you. What kind of chutzpah is this? How can Abraham Avinu take Hagar? How come we don't ask this question? Oh, Hagar, very nice. What? She was the lady she threw her out. She said, get her out of here. In addition, it says in the Pasuk, Yitzhak was coming to meet Rivka from where? Which town? From Be'el Hairoi. What's Be'el Hairoi? That's where the angel appeared to Hagar. When Sarah kicked out Hagar and her son Ishmael with her, they're going wandering in the desert, and the boy's going to die. And she stops and she sees the angel. The angel appears to her and gives her the well. Here's the well. Drink the water. You're going to live. And she says, wow, an angel appeared to me. I'm going to name this place Be'el Hairoi. This place is the place of Hagar's visitation by an angel, where Ishmael, who was thrown out, was saved. Yitzhak came from Be'el Hairoi. What were you doing there? What was he doing there? Rashi, you know Rashi. Rashi says he went to go get Hagar to go marry his father again. And so he's in on the deal too. What? Does anybody have any respect for Sarah? What's going on here? This is your rival brother, Ishmael. They threw him out. You're going back to his town, which commemorates the place. You don't think Ishmaelim would appreciate this place, Be'el Hairoi? This is their place. Their grandmother, an angel of God, appeared to her and saved the nation of Islam. In this place, Be'el Hairoi, I'm going to go back there. I'm going to get him. I'm going to get her. We know that by the Akedah, it says, stay here with the donkey. She says, who was the two kids? One was Ishmael. So hold on, he brought Ishmael back? I thought he threw him out. What was Ishmael doing back here? Further, at the end of the Pasuk, at the end of the Pirashah, it says, when Abraham died, who buried him? Ishmael and Yitzhak. So apparently they got along. And the end of the Pasuk is, Vayeshev Yitzhak im Be'el Hairoi. Yitzhak took up residence in Be'el Hairoi. Wasn't enough that he went there to visit before to get Hagar. And the day, and the day where Hagar was coming from, Vayetze Yitzhak lasuach basadeh lefnot Arev. When Rivka was coming on the camel to meet her husband, Yitzhak was also coming this way. Where was he coming from? From Be'er Lahai. What was he doing? Praying there. Lasu Asham. He was praying there. This is where the Gemara Berachot brings the proof that we have something called Tefilat Minha from Yitzhak. Tefilat Minha was in Be'er Lahai. Some people say it was in Melat HaMachpelah, but he was definitely coming from Be'er Lahai. And the rabbis say, Rabbi Miller says this for sure in his book, Yitzhak always went there when he needed inspiration. If I need inspiration, I'm going to the El Haro'i to get some. This is a place where the angel appeared to my my mom's ex-wife's maidservant weird situation. This is where I'm going for inspiration. And then, like I said, at the end of the parasha, Abraham dies. Vayeshev Yitzhak in El Haro'i. You know what? I'm going to live in the El Haro'i. That's where I want to raise my family. What? What are you so attached to this place for? The El Haro'i. This is like the worst place in the world for you. Says now, the Rebbe doesn't say, "Oh, this is what I'm saying." I'm bringing it out with some of my own thoughts and words, but this is the point. The point is, Avraham Avinu. It says, "Vayosef Avraham." Avraham added and took a wife. If he remarried the same wife, Hagar, that's not really adding a wife. It should just say he took her back. Why does it say Vayosef Avraham? And this the Rebbe says, Vayosef Avraham means not he added a wife. He added Avraham. He added to himself. He added a new part to himself. He said, I know I'm 140. I feel I have a new job. I have a new job. Why am I alive today? Not to do the things I was doing yesterday. I'm alive today for a new reason. Ready for the next step in my life? I keep moving up. I don't care if I'm old. By Yosef Avraham, I think there's a new Avraham today, fellas. There's a new Avraham. Who's the new Avraham? Now I'm ready. I already did what I needed to do with the religious side of the thing. I brought up Yitzhak. I had the nation of Israel. Done. Akedah, Sara, this side of the thing, done. My legacy is complete. Why am I still alive? Now I got to go do something else. I think I'm ready to take Hagar back and flip her around and make her good. I think I'm ready for Ishmael to come back to my life. And you know what the point of it all is? Yitzhak agreed with him. And Yitzhak said, Dad, what are you doing now? You want me to get married? What about you? What's your job? It says, who went to get Hagar? Yitzhak went to get her. Dad, what are you doing? You're not just living to make my shidduch, which a lot of people are living for when they get older. I am alive to find my kids a shidduch. Could be. I hope that's not the only reason you're alive. Because the second you find them a shidduch, do you want to go? God forbid. No. You're not alive just to find your kids a shidduch. You're alive for another reason. So Yitzhak says to his father, what are you doing now, Dad? How about we get Hagar back? Let's go try to conquer that side of the coin. Hagar had potential, and Mom thought we weren't ready for her. I wasn't ready to be in the same house as this kid, and she was no good for you. So she said, throw him out. But we're growing every day. Maybe we have a new job. Let's take a new challenge. Let's take these two back, and let's bring them up. Abraham says, yes. And the point of it all is, you know who would agree with us? Sarah would agree with us. It's not disrespecting her. At that point in our lives, we weren't ready for it. But why am I alive today? Sarah would even say, go for it. Every day there's a new job. By Yosef Abraham adds to himself and says, why am I alive? Now I'm going to take Hagar, and now Ishmael is my new challenge in life. And I'm going to have more kids. I already took care of the Jewish nation. They're done. I'm going to have other kids, and I'm going to try to spread it on the other side of the world. Not Jews, forget Jews. Why am I alive? For the non-Jews even. And he had a bunch of nations that are not Jewish. And he sent them out to spread it all over the world, spread the message of God to the world. And it worked to a certain extent. They did spread monotheism to the world. It's a good thing he did this. Because if he didn't remarry Hagar and have all those kids, who would we be missing from the nation of Israel? Always ask yourself this question. Nothing's a coincidence. Just like we say by Lot, it's a good thing Lot was with the cave with his girls, because otherwise we'd never have Mashiach, right? Because Ruth came from there. And Naomi came, not Naomi, Shlomo HaMelech's mom came from there. It's a good thing Abraham had those kids, because one of those kids was Midian. And Midian would have a grandson, Yitro. And Yitro would have a daughter, Tzipporah, who turned out to marry Moshe Rabbeinu. And so it's a good thing Abraham Avinu kept going, even with a new challenge in his life, because now we're getting the wife of Moses from these kids, from Hagar. Moshe Rabbeinu's wife from Hagar, from Keturah. Abraham Avinu never stopped, and Yitzhak was with him on the deal. And Sarah would have agreed. Why? Because Sarah never stopped herself. Would have happened 37 years ago. That was for 37 years ago. Now is not 37 years ago. Ba Bayamim, live in today. This is the lesson of Abraham Avinu. Okay, we understand now this is not a chutzpah to Sarah anymore. It's not just men being men. She's still with that. She's still with that. Give it a second chance. My question is this. So I want to put a bow on this side, and I want to just do one more topic. The lesson we got very clear from the parasha yesterday. The main lesson is time, the value of time. The Haftarah is all about this, and the parasha is all about this. But I just want to end with one question, side question, like I put in the chat. Did Eliezer do the right thing or do the wrong thing? It's something to think about. Eliezer was going to get a wife for Yitzhak. He says, Hashem, help me out over here and send me a sign. Send me the sign. If I go to the first girl, if I go to the girl and I say, feed me and my camel, and she says yes, I will know she's the one for Yitzhak. Turns out, worked perfectly. Was it a good thing he did? Was it the right thing to do? Is this something that we should do? Ask Hashem for signs? Not so clear. Not so clear. The Gemara on Hulin, the Gemara on Hulin says there was a rabbi, his name was Rav. And Rav decided one day to go to his daughter's house, his daughter and his son-in-law. He had to take the ferry to get there. And so Rav, he goes to the ferry port, and right as he's walking up to the port, the ship is coming to pull up to the port. Perfect time. When you get the green light, exactly, you got the green turning light right when you pull up into the left lane. Perfect timing. Rav says, I'm reading this is the Gemara in Hulin, page 90. I'm not so good at my page numbers today. Oh, 95b. Hulin 95b. But I'm going to say it by heart. And Rav says, oh, right when I walk up to the port, the boat is coming to get at me. It's a good sign. Today's going to be a great day. Which means when I get there, they're going to have a nice meal for me, for sure. I guarantee it. He goes on the ferry, and as the Gemara continues, it says, he gets to the place where his daughter lived, and he walks out. Before he knocks on the door, he wants to see what happens. He has a hunch to see if what he thought would be a great day is true. And so it says he peeks through the fence. The Gemara says, he looks through the hole in the fence, and what does he see? A freshly slaughtered animal that they're about to prepare a beautiful meal. They didn't know he was coming. I said, wow, they're going to make a big meal. I knew it. He went to his daughter, and he said, hi, I'm here. He said, great, let's have a meal. And Rav said, I'm not eating. Rav said, I'm not eating. Gemara says, why didn't Rav want to eat it? First attempt of the Gemara to answer, because the Gemara sometimes goes back and forth. The Gemara says, you know why he didn't want to eat it? Because he used nihush. He used signs from Hashem. And he said, oh, it's going to be a great day. I'm going to have a great meal. He didn't want to benefit from any of this stuff. This is not what Jewish people should do. And so he penalized himself. Since he used a sign from Hashem, he used a sign to determine if it was going to be a good day. He said, now I'm not going to let myself have the good meal. I shouldn't have done that. Gemara says, why? Is what he did so bad? It's only bad if you do what Eliezer did, the Gemara says. It's only bad if you did what Eliezer did. But what he did is fine. Wow. So the Gemara clearly says straight out that Eliezer, what he did was wrong. Interesting. And the Gemara and the Tosafot and the Mefashim, they go back and forth. Was Eliezer right? Was Eliezer wrong? There's another Gemara on Ta'anit, page 4. Gemara Ta'anit, page 4 says, Eliezer should not have done what he did. Another criticism for Eliezer. He should not have asked why. Gemara says, Eliezer and Yiftach both made the same mistake. Remember the story of Yiftach? Yiftach was a general that came home. He told Hashem, make me successful in the war. And the first thing I see when I walk in the house will be a sacrifice to you. And the first thing he saw was his daughter. Bad move, Yiftach, right? Bad move. Gemara puts Eliezer and Yiftach in the same boat. Eliezer, the girl who says, I'm going to feed you and your camels, that's the girl. What if the girl's blind? What if the girl's crippled? What if the girl's no good? Are you crazy? Who says such a thing? Gemara says very not nice words about Eliezer. And so we have strong criticism about Eliezer. Rambam, I'm going to read you Rambam. Rambam, this is the laws of idol worship. Chapter 11, I'm going to read you 4 and 5. Okay? Chapter 11. This is actually chapter 11, okay? Chapter 11, 4 and 5. We don't use, what's it called? Divinations? Is that the word? Divination? How do you pronounce it? Divinations? Like signs from God and all these things. Like, we don't do this stuff like the Goyim do. Don't do these things. Ketzad, for example. כגון אלו שאומרים, הואיל ונפלה פיתי מפי, או נפל מקרי מידי, איני הולך למקום פלוני היום. שאם אלך אין חפצינס נעשים. For example, what of something you shouldn't get engaged in, a thing you shouldn't do is, a person's about to go on a trip for business or whatever, and he's about to have a sandwich, and all of a sudden, the sandwich fell on the floor. He's like, oh, it's a bad sign. It's a bad sign. Hashem's not with me. I'm not going to be successful on the trip. Cancel the trip. Cancel the trip. Rambam said, now, I think there are people that actually do this, by the way. We have some people who are very involved in Sigulot. Sigulot can be very dangerous. You have to limit what we do with Sigulot. Rambam says, don't do that. Go on the trip. We don't do that. If a fox passed my path, or in our words, a black cat, crossed my path, and you say, I'm not leaving the house the whole day. That's what Rambam says. Bad. Some people hear the chirps of the birds. Oh, that bird, I don't like what that bird's saying to me. That bird's telling me not to go. Rambam says this. Or the bird saying I should do something. No, don't listen to this stuff. Or you hear that rooster? The rooster is crowing like a raven. Sounds weird. Kill the rooster. Something's wrong with that rooster. Or the rooster, the raven, kill the bird. No, don't do this stuff. Now here's the part of the Rambam. So too someone who makes signs for himself. If X, Y, and Z happens, then I'm going to do it. If X, Y, and Z happens, if I get, let's say, go back to the green light. Hashem, should I go? Nah, okay. If I get the green light now on Witset, I'm going. Hashem, ready, set, go. If I get the green light, I'm going. Give me a red light, I'm not going. That's my sign. Don't do this stuff. Don't do it. Eliezer, don't do this stuff. Why? Eliezer, Eved Avraham. Don't do what Eliezer, the servant of Abraham, did. Whoa, Rambam is calling out Eliezer. Eliezer, the hero in our Pirasha. But Rambam is calling him out that what he did is not good. Anyone who does all these things, hakol asur, is forbidden. And if someone actually follows through and kills the chicken because he didn't like the way the chicken was sounding, we're going to give him lashes because they violated the commandment. Lo tenahashu. We don't do this stuff. Wow. 5, halakha 5 from the Rambam. However, someone says, I just got a new house, And mamash, from the second I had moved into the house, my luck changed around. Everything just seems to be working out perfectly. Isha zu sheneseti ubehama zu shekaniti mevorechet. Hayita me'et shekaniti. The moment I got married to this woman, it changed my life. Everything else in my life got better. The moment I bought this animal or the moment I bought this Tesla, everything in my life is great. My boss is nice to me. Everyone loves me. Is this good or bad? וכן השואל לתינוק, איזה פסוק אתה לומד, אם אמר לו פסוק מן הברכות ישמח ויאמר זה סימן טוב, or like a lot of rabbis in the Gemara used to do, they'd go over to a yeshiva kid and say, hey, come here, little boy. What pasuk did you learn in school today? And if the kid says, oh, I learned the pasuk about good things. Hashem will bless you. That means I'm going to have blessing. And if the kid says, oh, I learned Hashem says I'm going to curse you, I'm going to have a curse. Taking the prophecy from the mouth of babes, as we say. You ever hear that phrase? Is this all good or is this bad? Kol elu v'chayotze bahen mutad. All these things are okay. So I like that. So the first section of telling Hashem, make a sign for me, or killing the rooster, all that stuff, no good. But the second section, looking for a siman and saying, you know, it happens to be when I moved into the house, my luck turned around. That's okay. Why? Because you're not saying, if something happens, I will do X. And if something happens, I will do Y. That is what you're not allowed to say. When you tie an action to a siman from Hashem, you're in bad area. Don't tie your actions. You do what you need to do, what's the right thing to do in your brain. Right? When you don't tie an action and you say, God, thank you so much. I had someone come to me yesterday, and he might be watching this because I think he watches this. I'm not going to call him out and say it, but it was good. He came to me yesterday. He said, you know, the aliyah I got yesterday, I'm going through something in my life, and the aliyah that I got spoke to me about what I'm going through, and it gave me a hizuk that it's going to be okay. That's great. That's great. Why? Because you're not tying your action. Oh, because the aliyah I got, I think I'm going to cancel the purchase. No. Mm-hmm. You can take a siman. Just don't tie an action to the siman. Why Rambam says, like I just said, you're not tying your action to it. You already did what you need to do. And you're going to do what you need to do. You're going to work tomorrow regardless. But you're saying, you know, Hashem, it just looks like everything's turning around. Since I started going to shul every day, I believe this. I really believe this, by the way. The days that I miss minyan, I have a rotten day at work. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's, you know, causation or correlation. They ask what causes what, but you're allowed to do that because you're saying, Hashem, I'm doing it anyway. I'm looking for siman and shemai, and so that Rambam has a critical view on Eliezer. Why? Because he was tying action to it. He's saying, if the girl does this, I'm going to take her. Let's say Rivka went out and didn't say the words he wanted to say. What if Rivka just said, I'm only going to feed you? You're going to pass on Rivka? You're not pass on Rivka because of that? No. You tied action to it. No good. However, the Kesef Mishneh, which is written by the Bet Yosef, which is another name for Maran Shulchan Aruch, and the Bet Yosef, in his work on the Bet Yosef, Maran Shulchan Aruch defends Eliezer, and he says, no. What Eliezer did is okay. You know why? Because Eliezer is not using some strange, weird, unrelated sign to find a girl. He's looking for Hesed. He's looking for a kind girl. And so he's not saying, oh, if the person that comes, if she has red hair, no. I'm saying if she's kind, I need to make sure she's nice. Mm-hmm. And so what Eliezer is looking for is good midot, says Maran Shulchan Aruch. And so it's not asur what he did, because it actually makes sense. And so says Maran Shulchan Aruch, if what you're doing makes sense, no problem. Right? And so Hashem, I'm trying to find a good the job interview. Yeah. If the boss is nice to me, I'm going to take the job. That's great, because you should want a boss that's nice to you. Not if the boss has an iPhone instead of a Samsung, I'm going to take the job. That doesn't make nothing to do with anything. Okay, so this is Maran Shulchan Aruch. So I'm going to read you Maran Shulchan Aruch, and then we're free to go for the week. Okay, Maran Shulchan Aruch, and if you want to look this up, we are in Yoreh De'ah in Siman 179:4. Let me read you the words of Malach Haruch, and we'll call it a day. Malach Haruch says, Bayit Hinok. So the first halakha, he repeats what the Rambam says about my bread falling down and all that stuff. He repeats exactly what the Rambam says not to do. But then he says, Bayit Tinok ve'isha, afa pi she'en nihush, yesh siman. If you bought a house and you feel your luck turned around, you got married, your luck turned around, you asked a kid for a pasuk and you feel that it's good, even though we're not supposed to do nihush, yesh siman. It's actually a siman. It could be good turning points in your life that actually make sense. I want to read you the Ramah for Moshe Isserlis, who's the Ashkenaz lost on the Shulchan Aruch. The Ramah says, Im hitzliach ahazeh gimel pa'amim o lo, v'chen mutar lomar letinok pasuk li pesukecha. Yesh omrim. Some say, L'adam mutar la'asot lo siman b'davar she'yavo le'atid k'gon she'asar Eliezer eved Avraham. Some people say you're allowed to make a siman for something in the future, like Eliezer, the servant of Abraham, says the Ramah. V'yesh osrin, but other people forbid it. As I told you, it's a mahloket. The Gemara hammers Eliezer. It's a mahloket. And the bottom line from the Ramah is so sweet. V'aolech betom, someone who walks innocently and completely and wholeheartedly with Hashem. Uboteach ba'Hashem, and he just trusts that Hashem will take care of him. Chesed yitzorevenu, this is the pasuk in Tehillim 32. Chesed yitzorevenu, kindness will surround him. And the ikad is, the bottom line for this is, Nihush, Eliezer, what he did, we're not sure if what he did is good or bad. Some people say it was bad, some people will say it was good. But I know a lot of people that talk to me, they're into a lot of sigulot. Why? Because we're yearning to be close to Hashem, and we don't have prophecy these days. And so people are like, Hashem, talk to me here, talk to me. And so therefore we have to be very careful. If your action is going to be dependent on what you see, don't do that. Do what you need to do, what makes sense in your brain. Jewish people, we use our brains, not our hearts. It's very important. Everyone out there says, follow your heart, follow your heart. We do not believe you follow your heart. If you follow your heart, you're going to make a lot of mistakes. The heart makes a lot of mistakes. We follow our brain, our brain. If it makes sense intellectually, if it makes sense logically, we do it. You want to look for a sign from Hashem, you can look for a sign from Hashem, but do it what you need to do, the right thing regardless. And let's wrap it up real quick, okay? What did we talk about today?
Sara.
If you missed the pre-class, you missed a really good one. Before the recording went on, we had a great thing. So go over to your fellow members and try to get what we got. We'll talk about the 400 from Ephron. Interesting stuff, the dirt bag. That was the pre-class. If you missed it, come to me now, or go to a class member and see if they can repeat it for you. And we spoke about when the recording was on, was number one, the value of time. Every minute is so precious, no matter what age you are. We learned this from Sara and from David. If you are alive, you have something you need to do today. Every day, there's something you need to do today. That's why you're here. And we learned this from Sara, Vatakom be'od laila. Friday night, when your husband or you or whoever it is says Eshet Hayil, you can think about Sara Imenu and pay attention to the cuffs. A lot of cuffs, the palms. V'liv kota, the cuff in the word v'liv kota is small because we give, we give, we give. When will you get rewarded and praised for all that you do? Your actions will speak for yourself. That's number one. Number two, we have the Rebbe's, which I just said really, the Rebbe's Hidush. Abraham Avinu Ba Bayamin. Why did he take Hagar back when Sarah just told him to throw her out? Because every day you have a new challenge in life. And yesterday's challenge is not today's challenge. And yesterday's job is not today's job. What was no good for you 37, 40 years ago can be your job today. So look at every single day and say, what do I need to do today? This is the Rebbe. And the last thing we just said is be careful when it comes to sigulot and simani. Be careful. Don't tie your action to it. You want to look and see if it's a good sign. See if it's a good sign. But you're going to do whatever you need to do regardless. With that, have an amazing week, everyone. My pleasure. How do I get
But
this?
I told you the Eliezer, it was emunah to God he asked this.